This is Note, the little letter who carried kind words on tiny paper wings. In the warm, sunlit village of Sunnyslope, where flowers bloomed in every window box and the scent of fresh bread filled the air, Note was a very important helper. Every morning, Note would wake up, stretch its little wings, and set off on a mission of kindness. The sun was just peeking over the rolling green hills when Note zipped out of the post office. A special message tucked safely inside. First stop, Mr. Giles, the gardener. His garden was a rainbow of colors, with tulips standing tall and daisies smiling at the sky. Note found him humming a little tune, carefully watering his prize-winning pumpkins. Note fluttered down and gently landed on his shoulder. Mr. Giles smiled. "Ah, Note, what have you got for me today?" He carefully opened the message. It was from Mrs. Gable, the librarian. It read, "Your flowers by the library window make every story feel brighter. Thank you." Mr. Giles's face lit up like a lantern. "How wonderful!" he exclaimed, giving Note a gentle pat. Feeling happy, Note zoomed off, leaving Mr. Giles with a heart full of sunshine. Next, Note flew towards the delicious smell of baking. It was coming from the Rolling Pin, the best bakery in the whole village, run by the cheerful baker, Bella. She was dusting flour off her apron, a smudge of chocolate on her cheek. Note whizzed through the open door, doing a little loop-the-loop in the warm air. "Well, hello there, speedy delivery," Bella laughed. Note landed softly on the counter, right next to a tray of warm, gooey cinnamon rolls. This message was from young Timmy, who lived down the lane. It said, "Dear Bella, your cookies are the yummiest in the world. They taste like happiness." Bella read the note, and her smile grew even wider. She carefully placed a tiny star-shaped cookie into a small bag. "This is for Timmy," she said to Note. "And this," she added, holding out a crumb for Note, "is for you, for being such a wonderful messenger." Note nibbled the crumb happily. It tasted like friendship. With a full tummy and a happy heart, Note continued its journey through Sunnyslope. It delivered a thank you note to the toy maker for mending a broken wheel, and a get-well-soon card to the sleepy old cat who lived by the fountain. Each message delivered was like planting a tiny seed of joy. Note loved seeing the smiles spread across the faces of the villagers. It was the best job in the world. As the afternoon sun began to dip lower, casting long, gentle shadows, Note realized it had delivered all of its messages. The little envelope was empty. Its work for the day was done. Feeling a little tired but very satisfied, Note decided to float gently by the village pond, where lily pads drifted and dragonflies danced. That's where Note saw Lily. Lily was a small girl with bright, curious eyes. But today, her eyes were filled with tears. She sat all alone on a bench, her head bowed, drawing sad little circles in the dust with her shoe. No one else was around. A big, lonely tear rolled down her cheek and splashed onto her knee. Note's paper heart ached seeing her so sad. It flew over, wanting to help. Note fluttered around her head, hoping to cheer her up, but Lily didn't seem to notice. Note checked its pocket again, just in case. But no, it was completely empty. There were no kind words to deliver, no happy messages to share. What could a little letter do without a letter inside? Note felt a bit lost. Its whole purpose was to carry words from one person to another. Without words, what good was it? Note thought about flying away to find someone to write a message for Lily, but it didn't want to leave her all alone. So, Note made a decision. It wouldn't fly away. Instead, it floated down and landed ever so gently on the bench, right next to Lily's hand. It didn't move. It didn't make a sound. It just sat there, a quiet, small paper friend. After a moment, Lily stopped drawing her sad circles. She sniffled and looked over. She saw the little envelope with its tiny, folded wings just sitting there. She blinked, wiping a tear from her eye. She slowly reached out a small finger and gently touched one of Note's wings. Note didn't flinch. It stayed perfectly still. Lily looked at the little letter. It wasn't trying to do anything. It was just there. She gave a small, watery smile. She picked Note up carefully, holding it in her hands like a precious treasure. She held it close to her cheek. Note's smooth paper felt cool and comforting. She didn't say anything for a long time. She just sat there, holding Note, watching the ducks paddle in the pond. The setting sun painted the clouds in shades of pink and orange. Slowly, her shoulders relaxed, and her sad little face began to soften. The tears stopped. She whispered, "Hello, little letter. Are you here to be my friend?" Note couldn't speak, of course, but it wiggled its wings just a tiny bit, as if to say, "Yes." Lily smiled, a real, genuine smile this time. It started small, but it grew until it reached her eyes, making them sparkle again. She stood up, still holding Note carefully in her hand. She wasn't sad anymore. As they walked away from the pond together, hand in hand, Hand and Wing Note learned something new and very important. Sometimes the kindest message of all has no words. Sometimes you don't need to deliver a note to make someone feel better. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to just be there, quietly, to show someone they are not alone. And that, Note realized, was a kind of delivery too. The delivery of friendship. From that day on, Note still loved carrying messages of kindness all over Sunnyslope. But it also remembered to take time to simply be with those who needed a friend. Because the best messages, Note now knew, often come straight from the heart, without any words at all. Thank you for watching our story. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more adventures from Sunnyslope. Bye for now. This is Shade, the friendly shadow who loved the night. While other shadows hid when the lights went out, Shade came out to play. Tonight, Shade was visiting a little boy named Leo. Leo was a brave adventurer during the day. But when the moon came up, he pulled his blankets up high, feeling a little scared of the dark corners in his room. Shade noticed Leo's worried face peeking from under his duvet. So, Shade did something magical. It stretched and wiggled, transforming from a long, spooky shape into a bouncy, floppy-eared bunny. The bunny shadow hopped right onto Leo's wall, wiggling its nose. Leo blinked, surprised. A giggle escaped from under his blanket. The scary corner wasn't scary anymore. It was a bunny playground. Leo peeked out a little more. Shade saw this and changed again. Poof! The bunny turned into a soaring bird, its wings gracefully flapping across the ceiling. It looked like it was dancing in the soft moonlight that streamed through the window. Leo sat up, his eyes wide with wonder. The darkness wasn't empty and frightening. It was a canvas for Shade's beautiful shadow show. "Wow," Leo whispered. Shade then changed into a friendly puppy, wagging its tail excitedly on the wall. The puppy shadow even did a little flip. Leo laughed out loud this time, a big, happy sound that filled the room. He wasn't hiding anymore. He was sitting up, pointing at the shadow puppy, completely forgetting he was ever scared. Shade gently morphed back into a simple, calm shadow shape, resting on the wall beside Leo's bed. It pointed a shadowy finger towards the window. Leo looked and saw the night sky, twinkling with thousands of tiny, sparkling stars. He had never really noticed them before. Suddenly, Shade began to change again, but this time it stretched out of the room, through the window, and up into the night sky. It became a shimmering, starry pathway, a bridge made of faint light connecting the stars. Leo watched in amazement as Shade's path outlined sparkling constellations. First a big, brave lion, then a giant dipper, ready to scoop up the moonlight. The darkness wasn't a place for scary monsters. It was a giant, beautiful map of the stars, and Shade was his guide. Leo realized the night was full of wonder, not worries. The shadows weren't there to scare him. They were there to play and show him the magic of the starlight. He snuggled back under his covers. At this time, his face wasn't hidden. He watched the twinkling stars from his cozy bed, feeling safe and peaceful. He knew Shade was out there, dancing among the stars, and would be back tomorrow night for another adventure. The darkness was his friend now, a soft, quiet blanket dotted with distant, shining lights. Leo yawned, a big, sleepy yawn. The room was calm and still. He knew that even when his eyes were closed, the friendly darkness and the starry sky were watching over him. And Shade, his new friend, was always nearby. With a happy sigh, Leo drifted off to sleep, dreaming of friendly bunnies, soaring birds, and his very own magical guide to the stars. The night was no longer something to fear, but something to look forward to. Good night, Leo. Good night, Shade. This is Echo, the sound collector. With ears as fuzzy as dandelion fluff and a heart full of curiosity, Echo's favorite thing to do was to listen. But Echo didn't just listen. Echo collected sounds. Every morning, with a special glowing jar held tight, Echo would tiptoe out into the world, ready for a new sound adventure. Today, Echo decided to visit the Whispering Meadow. The sun was just peeking over the hills, painting the sky in soft shades of pink and orange. The first sound Echo wanted to find was the swish-swish of the tall grass dancing in the morning breeze. Echo closed their eyes and listened very, very carefully. Swish, swish, swish. It was like the meadow was whispering secrets. Echo gently uncapped the glowing jar, and whoosh, the sound swirled inside, glowing with a soft, green light. One sound collected. Next, Echo tiptoed towards the babbling brook. The water tumbled over smooth, grey stones, making a gentle, happy sound. Gurgle, bubble, trickle. It sounded like the water was telling a funny story. Echo knelt down, holding the jar close to the water's edge. Splash! A little droplet landed on Echo's nose, making Echo giggle. The sound of the brook, a cheerful, bubbly tune, flowed into the jar, mixing with the green swish of the grass and turning into a lovely shade of turquoise. Two sounds collected. As Echo continued the journey, a tiny ladybug landed on a leaf nearby. Its little legs made the quietest pitter-patter sound as it walked across the leaf. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter. It was so soft. You'd miss it if you weren't listening with your whole heart. Echo leaned in, holding very still, and carefully scooped the tiny sound into the jar. A little speck of sparkly red light joined the green and turquoise. Three sounds collected. Walking along the edge of the sunny forest, Echo heard something new. Tap, 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 tap. Peeking through the leaves, Echo saw a woodpecker tapping on a big oak tree. It was looking for its breakfast. The tapping sound was like a tiny drum, keeping a beat for the forest. Tap, tap, tap. Echo smiled and held up the jar. The rhythmic tapping sound flew inside, adding a bright, golden rhythm to the collection. The light in the jar was now a beautiful, swirling rainbow of gentle sounds. Echo felt very happy with the collection and decided to wander towards the clover patch, a favorite spot for a nap. On the way, Echo heard a soft humming. Bee-zee-zee-zee-zee-zee. A fluffy bumblebee was buzzing from one clover blossom to another, its wings beating so fast they were just a blur. The bee was busy collecting sweet nectar, and Echo was busy collecting its happy, buzzy song. The humming sound zipped into the jar, adding a warm, honey-colored glow. Feeling a bit tired from the morning's adventure, Echo found a comfy spot under the shade of a big, friendly apple tree. The jar was almost full, glowing with the beautiful sounds of the day. There was the swish of the grass, the gurgle of the brook, the pitter-patter of the ladybug, the tapping of the woodpecker, and the buzz of the bee. Echo decided to listen to the collection. Uncapping the jar just a little, a symphony of soft sounds filled the air. The swish-swoosh mixed with the bubble trickle, and the pitter-patter danced with the tap-tap-tap, all wrapped in a warm bee-zee-zee-zee-zee-zee. It was the most beautiful song Echo had ever heard, the song of the meadow. It was peaceful and happy, and it made Echo feel warm and cozy all over. Echo swayed gently to the music, a big, happy smile on their face. As the song faded, Echo noticed something else. Or rather, a lack of something. The wind had stopped whispering. The brook was too far away to hear. The little creatures of the forest were all taking a midday rest. All around, there was nothing. There was silence. At first, Echo thought something was wrong. Where had all the sounds gone? Echo wiggled those big, fuzzy ears, listening as hard as possible. But all that came back was quiet. Echo sat there for a long moment, just sitting in the stillness. And then, Echo started to notice things that couldn't be heard with sounds. Echo noticed the warmth of the sun on their fur. Echo noticed the gentle way a leaf twirled as it fell from the apple tree, landing without a peep. Echo noticed their own breathing, a slow and steady in and out, in and out. This quiet wasn't empty. It was full. It was full of peace. It was full of calm. It was a different kind of sound, the sound of silence. It was soft and gentle, like a big, warm blanket. It didn't need to be loud to be beautiful. Echo realized that silence was a sound too. A very, very special one. It was the sound that let all the other little sounds have their turn. It was the space in between. Echo looked at the glowing jar, full of colorful sounds. Then Echo looked at the quiet world all around. A new idea popped into Echo's head. Could you collect silence? Echo took the glowing jar and held it open wide. But nothing happened. The silence was already everywhere. You didn't need a jar to hold it. You just needed to be still and listen to it with your heart. Echo smiled, understanding now. The world was full of wonderful noises and beautiful quiet. Both were special. Both were part of the big, amazing sum of the world. The adventure wasn't just about collecting sounds you could hear, but also about enjoying the moments when you could hear nothing at all. As the afternoon sun began to dip lower in the sky, Echo started the journey home. This time, Echo didn't listen for sounds to put in the jar. Instead, Echo just listened. Echo listened to the soft crunch of their own footsteps on the path. Echo listened to the quiet rustle of a mouse in the bushes. And in between each little sound, Echo listened to the peaceful silence. Back in their cozy little home, Echo placed the glowing jar on a shelf. It shone with all the colors of the day's adventure. But Echo knew that the best sound collected that day couldn't be kept in a jar. It was the quiet, peaceful feeling that was now tucked safely in Echo's heart. And Echo knew that any time the world felt a little too loud or a little too busy, it was possible to find that quiet, peaceful place just by closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, and listening to the beautiful sound of silence. From that day on, Echo was not just a sound collector, but a silence keeper too. Thanks for joining Echo's adventure today. Remember to listen to all the little sounds around you, and enjoy the quiet moments too. See you next time. This is Hugh, the painter who painted feelings. Instead of painting pictures of trees or houses, Hugh painted how it felt to be calm, how it felt to be gentle, and how it felt to be peaceful. Hugh's studio was a quiet, sunny room filled with soft pillows and jars of glowing colors. Each color was a special feeling. There was a gentle green for tranquility, a soft pink for warmth, and a dreamy purple for wonder. Hugh would dip a soft brush into a color, and with a slow, careful stroke, paint a feeling onto the paper. The colors would spread and swirl, creating beautiful patterns of peace. One morning, as the sunbeams danced on the floor, a new color appeared at the studio door. It was a small, round shape of deep, quiet blue. This was blue. Blue moved slowly, as if carrying something heavy, and its color was like the sky just before nightfall. Hugh smiled gently and dipped a brush into a jar of clear, sparkling water. "Hello," said Hugh in a voice as soft as a whisper. "Welcome to my studio. What feeling are you today?" Blue looked up, its colors swirling a little. "I feel heavy," Blue said softly, "like a cloud full of rain that doesn't want to fall. I feel very, very quiet inside." Hugh nodded, understanding. Sometimes, quiet and heavy is a feeling we have. It's like the deep, still water at the bottom of a pond. It's okay to feel that way. "Would you like me to paint with you?" Blue thought for a moment and then gave a small, slow nod. Hugh took a fresh piece of paper and dipped a brush into Blue's color. With a long, smooth stroke, Hugh painted a gentle, flowing river of blue across the page. It wasn't a sad river, but a calm and deep one. "See?" Hugh said. "Your feeling is a peaceful river. It flows quietly and steadily. It has its own special beauty. As Hugh was painting, a bright, warm light filled the doorway. In bounced yellow, a cheerful, sunny color that seemed to hum with energy. Yellow zipped around the room, leaving little trails of light, like a happy little firefly. "Hello, everyone," Yellow chirped, its voice like the sound of little bells. "What a beautiful day! The sun is shining, and I feel so bouncy. I feel like a happy song that everyone wants to sing along to." Yellow danced over to the painting. "Oh, what's this? It's so blue. It's very still." "This is blue," Hugh explained. "Blue is feeling quiet and heavy today. We're painting a peaceful river." "A river?" Yellow asked, tilting. "But rivers are fun and splashy. They should be full of sunshine." "Not always," said Hugh kindly. "Sometimes, rivers are deep and calm, just like feelings. Some are bouncy and bright like you, Yellow, and some are quiet and thoughtful like Blue. Both are wonderful." Blue looked at Yellow's bright glow. "You're so warm," Blue said quietly. "I feel a little less heavy just being near you." "And you're so calm," Yellow replied, slowing its bouncing just a little. "It's nice to be still for a moment. It makes my light feel softer." Hugh smiled and picked up a clean brush. "What if we painted together?" Hugh asked. "Let's see what happens when your feelings meet on the paper." Hugh dipped one side of the brush into Blue's color and the other side into Yellow's. Then, with a gentle touch, Hugh painted next to the blue river. As the yellow touched the blue, something magical happened. A soft, gentle green began to appear where they met. It wasn't Blue's color anymore, and it wasn't Yellow's either. It was a brand new feeling. "Look," Yellow exclaimed, its light flickering with excitement. "We made green." Blue's color swirled a little faster. "It feels like a meadow in the morning," Blue whispered, a hint of wonder in its voice. "The quietness is still there, but now there's a little bit of sunshine in it. It feels like hope." "Exactly. Your feelings blended together to create something new. Your quietness, Blue, gave Yellow's brightness a peaceful place to rest. And your warmth, Yellow, brought a little light to Blue's depth." Yellow moved closer to Blue. "I like being a meadow. It feels calm and happy at the same time. Can we do it again?" "Of course," Hugh said, and continued to paint. They added more yellow and the green became brighter, like new leaves in spring. Then they added more blue, and the green became deeper, like a hidden, mossy forest. They weren't just blue and yellow anymore. They were also the feeling of a gentle breeze, a growing sprout, and a quiet nap in the grass. Blue watched the colors swirl and change. "I thought my feeling was just heavy," Blue said. "I didn't know it could become a forest. And I thought I always had to be bouncy," said Yellow. "But being a quiet meadow feels nice too. My light feels more gentle now. All feelings are like colors on a painter's palette," Hugh explained softly. "Sometimes we feel like one color, bright and bold. Other times we feel like another, quiet and deep. And sometimes our feelings mix together, creating new and beautiful shades we've never felt before. None of them are wrong. They are all a part of the painting of you." Hugh then took a brush and dipped it into a soft, shimmering white. "This is the feeling of kindness," Hugh said, and added a few sparkling dots of white over the painting. The dots shimmered on the blue, the yellow, and the green, making all the colors glow. "Kindness helps all our other feelings shine," Hugh added. "When we are kind to ourselves and to each other, even the heaviest feelings can feel a little bit lighter." Blue moved next to yellow, and their colors gently touched. A soft, warm green glow appeared between them. It wasn't a painting this time. It was just them, sharing a feeling together. "Thank you, Hugh," Blue said, its voice no longer heavy, but soft and clear like a gentle stream. "You showed me that my feelings are a beautiful river. And thank you for sharing your quietness, Blue." said Yellow. "You help my sunshine feel more peaceful." Hugh smiled, putting the brushes down. "You did it yourselves. You listened to each other, and you weren't afraid to share your colors. That's how we paint the most beautiful feelings of all: understanding and friendship." The three of them sat together in the quiet, sunny studio, looking at the beautiful painting they had created. It was a picture of a river and a meadow, of quietness and brightness, of blue, yellow, and all the lovely greens in between. It was a painting of feelings, made with kindness and care. And in that peaceful moment, surrounded by soft colors and gentle light, they all felt perfectly, wonderfully calm. From that day on, Blue and Yellow often visited Hugh's studio, not just to paint, but to share their colors and learn how beautiful it was to feel everything together. Thanks for watching our story today. Remember to always be kind to your feelings and to the feelings of others. We'll see you next time for another gentle adventure. Bye for now.
This is Tick, the tiny timekeeper who lived inside a clock. Not just any clock, but the great clock tower that stood tall in the middle of a bustling, busy village. From the very top of the tower, you could see little houses with smoking chimneys, winding roads filled with hurried people, and a river that sparkled in the sun. But Tick didn't see much of that. His world was inside, a cozy, ticking worry world of gears, springs, and pendulums. Tick was no bigger than a thimble, with bright, curious eyes and a tool belt always fastened around his waist. His job, his most important responsibility, was to make sure every clock in the tower kept perfect time. Every morning, as the first ray of sunshine peeked through the dusty tower window, Tick would begin his routine. First, he'd slide down the long, smooth pendulum of the main clock. It was the best way to wake up. Then he'd visit each of his friends, the clocks. There was the small mantel clock with a quiet, shy tick-tock. Tick would gently polish its shiny brass hands. There was the wall clock with a loud, hearty chime. Tick would make sure its weights were hanging just right. He loved his work. To him, every tick was a heartbeat, and every tock was a gentle breath. He believed that time wasn't something to rush through, but something to care for, like a little garden. His best friend in the whole wide tower was Cuckoo. Cuckoo was a brightly feathered wooden bird who lived in a small, special clock. Every hour, it was her job to pop out and sing her happy song for the village below. Cuckoo, cuckoo, she'd call, her voice echoing through the valley. Cuckoo was full of energy. She didn't like to wait. She wanted to sing all the time, not just once an hour. "Oh, Tick," she'd chirp, bouncing on her little wooden perch. "Why must we wait so long? Let's go now. Let's sing again." Tick would smile and pat her little head. "Patience, Cuckoo," he'd say softly. "Every moment has its own special time. The waiting is part of the song." But Cuckoo found waiting very, very difficult. She would flap her wings and hop from foot to foot, always in a hurry. One sunny afternoon, the village was preparing for its annual spring festival. Everyone was rushing even more than usual. Down below, bakers were frosting cakes, children were stringing up colorful lanterns, and farmers were bringing in baskets of bright red strawberries. The excitement buzzed all the way up to the top of the clock tower. Cuckoo could feel it. She was so excited she could barely stay in her little house. It's almost almost 3 o'clock tick," she chirped, her feathers ruffled with anticipation. "The festival starts at 3. I have to sing my best cuckoo song ever." Tick was busy oiling a rusty gear nearby. "You will, Cuckoo," he said calmly. "Just take a deep breath. The moment will come." But Cuckoo couldn't wait. As the minute hand crept closer and closer to the 12, she got ready to burst out. She bounced and wiggled, and just as the clock prepared to chime, she tried to push the door open a tiny second too early. But the mechanism wasn't ready. With a creak and a groan, the little door got stuck halfway. Cuckoo was trapped. "Oh no," she cried, her voice muffled. "I'm stuck. I can't get out." Tick heard her little cries and scurried over. He saw her little beak peeking through the jammed door. "Don't worry, Cuckoo," he said, pulling a tiny wrench from his tool belt. "I'll get you out. Just hold still." He worked carefully, loosening a tiny screw here, wiggling a little lever there. It took a few minutes, which felt like forever to Cuckoo. Finally, with a soft asterisk, pop asterisk, the door swung open. Cuckoo tumbled out onto the platform, looking very sad. She had missed her moment. The 3 o'clock chime had come and gone without her song. A single wooden tear rolled down her cheek. "I ruined it," she whispered. "I was in too much of a hurry." Tick sat down beside her. "It's okay," he said gently. "Sometimes, when we rush, things get tangled up. But we can always fix them." He looked at her with his kind eyes. "Maybe we should go see Grandfather Time. He knows all about this." Cuckoo sniffled and nodded. So Tick led the way, climbing up a winding staircase made of giant cogs and wheels, higher and higher into the very heart of the clock tower. They arrived at a quiet, sunlit room at the very top. In the center sat the oldest and wisest clock of all, Grandfather Time. He was a huge, magnificent grandfather clock made of dark, polished wood with a long golden pendulum that swung back and forth, back and forth in a slow, steady rhythm. His tick-tock was deep and calming, like a gentle giant's heartbeat. "Hello, little ones," his voice rumbled, warm and kind. "What brings you to see me?" Cuckoo hung her head. "I was in too much of a hurry, and I got stuck," she said quietly. "I missed my song." Grandfather Time's pendulum swung slowly. "Ah, the hurry-ups," he said with a wise chuckle. "They can cause a lot of trouble. But tell me, Cuckoo, when you are rushing, what do you see?" Cuckoo thought for a moment. "Whoa, I see the moment I'm rushing to," she said. "Exactly," said Grandfather Time. "You only see the end. You miss everything in between. Come, look." He gestured with a long golden hand towards a small round window. Tick and Cuckoo peered out. The window acted like a magnifying glass, showing them a tiny part of the tower they had never noticed before. They saw a little spider weaving a beautiful, intricate web, sparkling with dust motes that danced in a sunbeam. It was so detailed, so perfect. "She is not in a hurry," Grandfather Time rumbled. "She takes her time, one thread at a time. That is her responsibility, and she does it with care." Then he shifted their view to a tiny patch of moss growing on a windowsill. It was 100 shades of green, soft and velvety, like a tiny forest. "This moss has been growing here for years," he explained. "One tiny bit at a time. It is patient." Tick and Cuckoo watched, mesmerized. They had rushed past these things 1,000 times and never truly seen them. They saw the beautiful patterns in the wood grain of the floorboards, the way the light made rainbows on a crystal gear. The whole tower was filled with tiny, beautiful secrets, visible only when you took the time to look. "You see," said Grandfather Time, "every tick has a purpose. Every tock has a meaning. The moments in between are just as important as the moments you are rushing toward. That is where the beauty is. That is where life happens." Cuckoo finally understood. Her job wasn't just to sing at the top of the hour. It was also to wait patiently, to be part of the steady, calm rhythm of the tower. It was her responsibility. "Thank you, Grandfather Time," she chirped, and this time her voice was calm and clear. As they walked back down the winding staircase, Tick had an idea. It was a small idea, a gentle idea, but it felt very important. He looked at Cuckoo, who was now walking slowly, watching the dust sparkle in the air. He looked at the giant, swinging pendulum of the main clock. He thought about the hurried people in the village below. When they got back to the main clockworks, Tick climbed up to the central mechanism. He took out his smallest, most delicate tool. He knew it was a huge responsibility to adjust the main clock for the whole village. But he also knew what Grandfather Time had taught them. With great care, he made a tiny, tiny adjustment. He didn't stop the clock. He just slowed the great pendulum down, ever so slightly. Just a little bit. So little that no one would notice right away. The clock's steady tick-tock became a slightly more peaceful tick-tock, a little more room to breathe between each second. Down in the village, something wonderful began to happen. The baker, who was always rushing to finish his cakes, found he had an extra moment to add a perfect swirl of frosting. The children, running to the festival, slowed down just enough to notice a beautiful butterfly fluttering by. A mother who was hurrying home took a moment to sit on a bench with her child and watch the clouds drift across the sky. The whole village, without even knowing why, seemed to let out a collective, gentle sigh. The frantic pace softened into a happy, peaceful rhythm. The festival was even more joyful because everyone was truly there, enjoying each moment instead of rushing to the next one. Up in the tower, as the 4 o'clock chime approached, Cuckoo took a slow, deep breath. She waited patiently. At the exact right moment, her door swung open smoothly. She hopped out and sang the sweetest, most beautiful song she had ever sung. Cuckoo, cuckoo. Her voice floated down to the village, not as a hurried announcement, but as a calm, happy melody that perfectly matched the new, gentle pace of life below. Tick stood listening, a proud smile on his face. He looked out the window and saw the happy, relaxed faces in the village square. He knew he had done the right thing. He had a great responsibility as the timekeeper, and today he had learned that keeping time wasn't just about being fast or being right. It was about helping everyone find the right rhythm for a happy life. From that day on, the great clock tower and the village below lived in perfect, peaceful harmony, all thanks to a tiny timekeeper who learned that slowing down could make everything better. Thank you so much for watching this story. If you enjoyed Tick's adventure, don't forget to like and subscribe for more gentle stories. See you next time. This is Sip, the little teacup who loved to travel. She wasn't like the other teacups who were happy to just sit on the shelf. Oh no, Sip was an adventurer. Her favorite way to travel was by sliding. Whoosh, she'd glide across smooth surfaces, her little handle held high like a sail. Sip wasn't alone on her adventures. She had two best friends who were just as curious as she was. First, there was Spoon, a shiny silver spoon who was always ready to help. Spoon could act as a catapult, a bridge, or even a paddle if they ever found themselves in a puddle of spilled juice. Then there was Napkin, a soft, patterned friend who was brave and gentle. Napkin could be a magic carpet, a cozy blanket, or a soft landing if Sip ever slid a little too fast. One bright, sunny morning, sunlight streamed into the kitchen, making everything sparkle. Sip wiggled on her saucer. "It's a perfect day for an adventure," she whispered to her friends. Spoon clinked excitedly against the sugar bowl, and Napkin rustled in agreement. "Where shall we go today, Sip?" asked Spoon. Sip looked out across the vast, gleaming kitchen counter. To others, it was just a place to chop vegetables. But to Sip and her friends, it was the Great Marble Plains. It was a wide-open land full of mystery and wonder. Today, Sip announced, "We shall explore the Great Marble Plains and climb the legendary wooden mountains." Spoon and Napkin cheered. Their journey began right away. Sip took a deep breath and slid off her saucer. She zoomed across the smooth, cool marble, with Spoon and Napkin close behind. The plains were vast and beautiful. They passed by the glistening chrome forest, which was really the faucet at the sink, with water drops sparkling like diamonds on its branches. They navigated around the Crumb Canyons, where bits of breakfast toast had fallen, creating tricky obstacles. Suddenly, they heard a low rumble. "What's that sound?" whispered Napkin, hiding behind a salt shaker. The rumbling grew louder, and the marble plains began to shake. It was the great beast, the toaster. Pop. Two slices of bread flew into the air like birds taking flight. Sip, Spoon, and Napkin giggled. They weren't scared. It was all part of the fun. After crossing the plains, they reached the edge of the counter. Before them rose the magnificent wooden mountains. It was a tall, sturdy bookshelf filled with colorful recipe books. "How will we ever climb that high?" asked Spoon, looking up at the towering shelves. Sip smiled. "With teamwork, of course." Spoon wedged himself into a tiny crack between two books, creating a foothold for Sip. Sip carefully balanced on Spoon's handle. Then Napkin, being so light and airy, floated up on a gentle breeze from the open window and settled on the shelf above. Napkin then lowered a corner down to Sip. "Grab on," Napkin called. Sip held on tight, and with a gentle tug, Napkin pulled her up to the first level of the wooden mountains. They had made it. The wooden mountains were even more amazing up close. Each book was a different color and texture, like a unique cliff face. They explored the Valley of Spices, which was a row of little jars that smelled of cinnamon and vanilla. They carefully tiptoed past the Sleeping Giant, a big cookbook that hadn't been opened in a while. As they climbed higher and higher, the view of the kitchen became more and more spectacular. They could see the entire Great Marble Plains, the Chrome Forest, and even the cozy corner where the fruit bowl lived. From up here, everything looked so different and magical. "Wow," said Sip, looking out at the world below. "Our kitchen is a whole universe." They reached the very top of the wooden mountains and sat on a thick book titled Comfort Foods. The sun was starting to set, and the kitchen was bathed in a warm, golden light. The adventure had been thrilling. They had been brave, clever, and had worked together as a team. Sip felt a happy little hum inside her porcelain walls. Spoon polished his reflection on the shiny book cover. "That was the best adventure yet," he declared. Napkin unfolded and lay down, making a soft spot for them to rest. "I agree," Napkin said softly. "But all this adventuring has made me a little sleepy." Sip looked around. She saw the vast world they had just explored. It was exciting and full of wonder. But then she looked down at the soft, clean napkin and felt the comforting presence of Spoon beside her. A new thought popped into her head. It was a playful, cozy thought. "You know what?" Sip said with a little smile. "Traveling is so much fun. Sliding and climbing and seeing new things is the best." Her friends nodded in agreement. But she continued, her voice growing soft and warm. "Do you know what might be the very best part of a long, wonderful journey?" Spoon and Napkin looked at her, curious. "What is it, Sip?" they asked in unison. Sip snuggled into the soft folds of Napkin. "It's coming back to a cozy spot for a warm rest," she said happily. "Adventures are for making you appreciate the quiet moments even more." And so the three friends curled up together on top of the wooden mountains, watching the last rays of sun disappear. They knew that tomorrow there would be a new adventure. Maybe they would sail across the sea or explore the deep, dark cabinet caves. The world was full of possibilities, but for now, they were content. They had discovered that the thrill of adventure and the comfort of rest were two parts of the same wonderful story. And being together right here, right now, was the most magical part of all. As the kitchen grew quiet, Sip, Spoon, and Napkin drifted off to sleep, dreaming of all the amazing places they would go next. And they knew no matter how far they traveled, the best feeling would always be returning to a warm, cozy spot with friends. Thank you for joining Sip on her adventure today. Remember to find the magic in the world around you, and don't forget to follow our channel for more wonderful stories. See you next time.